Hey.
Hi, everyone. My name is Darla Kirchner, and I am so excited to be on this blab with my new friends, my new little branding friends, Angela and Jennifer here with me. And we all actually met on Twitter, which is amazing. It's so fun. I love social media. And so we had actually done a blab, an introductory blab, and started talking about brand storytelling. And for whatever reason, by the gods of blab, decided not to record it. So we thought, well, let's do this again because it was such great content. Right. Thought we would try it again. And so I apologize for my little raspy voice, but we're so glad you guys are here and you ladies are here with us. And we hope that you'll post your questions, post your comments, and we just want to share with you some tips and some strategies and maybe a few tools that will help you with your brand storytelling. Because we understand that branding obviously is our passion, and storytelling is all a part of your brand. So what do you ladies think about that? You want to? Well, we go run and introduce ourselves. That might be a good idea.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, Jennifer, since you came on last.
Okay. Well, hi everybody. I'm Jennifer, and I'm a neuroscientist who did many years in the lab and at the bench, and finally let my inner marketer bloom. And so now I put all of my neuroscience background to work in marketing and looking at visuals and emotions and storytelling that really engages the brain. So that's sort of my bit of the brand and brand storytelling for the night.
That's awesome.
Gotcha. Well, hey everyone, my name is Angela Hemans. I'm a personal brand strategist and social media trainer, and I kind of landed into helping women entrepreneurs communicate their unique brand online, to develop that insightful and impactful brand of theirs. And landed into it because of a friend in business who needed my help. And lo and behold, the techniques that we used worked on her, and she's making money because of it. So I figured, I'm on to something here, So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
There you go. Love it. Well, my name is Darla Kirchner, and I am a brand designer. I do a lot of brand identity and strategy. I love to work with entrepreneurs and small businesses, especially to get them up online. I think it's really important. I've been a designer for over 20 years, and I realized that, visuals are really important, but they're not the full package. It's what makes everything looks pretty. And so I've learned through doing my own branding over and over and doing many other people's branding that it's really about starting on the inside. So that's how I like to look at things, is branding from the inside out, and to help them to define their brand identity so that they're purpose driven, they're authentic, and that they're connecting with their ideal clients. So that's who I am, and so we're glad that you are all here with us, and we just want to start talking about a little about some strategies and some things that that have worked for us. One of the things, I love quotes, ladies, and one of the things that I saw that there was a gentleman by the name of Ian Roden, and he said the best brands are built on great stories, and I totally agree with that. What do you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
absolutely.
A great story pulls people in. A great story shows how relatable you are. Mm-hmm. When you can touch somebody and they say, you know what, I can relate to that person, that's a great story. When you sit there and you're dumbfounded and you say, well, I'm glad somebody shared that because now I don't feel alone. That's a great story. And you can do that with your brand. So
absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and stories are so great because they get encoded into the brain, into memory, the way that random facts and statistics, people just don't remember that, but they do remember that story. They do remember that journey that you're either taking them on, or you sharing your journey and having people identify with it. It's such a powerful way to not only get people to connect with you, but also for them to actually file you away in their brain.
Yeah,
exactly, because I don't remember numbers.
Yeah.
I agree. It's more of an emotional thing for me. So you think about it, there's a gentleman that I follow that's really talks about story, and he had said that there's 15 million people go to see movies a year. And you think about that, people want to have a story that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so by, it gives, people can relate to that, and they'll they want to be either, excited or scared or whatever. But I think you relate on that, on the emotional things. I know when I blog about things, the most highest blogs posts I've ever had are when I share my personal stories. And I think that people relate to that. And so I think that's something that, we would all agree to share, when you're, kind of be a little bit more transparent, and to share some of that, share about your personality, because that's what people relate to.
Yeah. So, it's really that best friend voice, right? When you write and you communicate like you're talking to your best friend, you're naturally emotional. You're naturally sharing a part of yourself that, you wouldn't necessarily reveal to the public. And I think when you kind of, split apart those curtains and let people take in a little peek at you, it helps them connect with you on a more emotional level. And so even though we try to sort of back off and think, oh, that's not very professional, in fact, it's a much more solid foundation for a relationship with your community than trying to keep things very dry and very professional.
Yeah.
But it's also difficult. I feel like it's difficult to let people in, even though there are so many other people going through the same experience and want to know some of the same things that you're going through. It takes a little bit of soul searching and looking at yourself to say, you know what, I feel like I need to share this with other people, and maybe somebody out there can relate. Are you going to go into, and Jennifer, are you going to go into the whole science behind it in the brain? Because that was kind of cool.
Yeah, you got to share that.
You are the staffs of scientists, so yes.
Yeah. So the interesting part about the brain is that it sort of is divided up roughly into 3 chunks. So you have the old brain, which is sort of very survival focused and focused on self. And that's sort of the part of the brain that you associate with survival features like breathing and being really sort of focused on your, food. They always say food, sex, breathing, basic human things. Then you have sort of the midbrain, which is the emotional part of the brain. And then you have the new brain, which is really the cognitive sort of analytical part of the brain. But, when you connect with people, when you reach out to people, you're reaching out to them really at a midbrain level, at really an emotional level. And so it's sort of a funny thing, because it's kind of like meeting someone and feeling like I like you or I don't like you, or landing on a web page and saying, I love this web page, I hate this web page.
Right.
It's such an instant thing that it's not the logical part of your brain that's making that decision. It's very much the midbrain, that emotional side that's seeing, does this connect with me or not instantly? And then it's sort of your new brain trying to justify the decision that's already been made. Well, I don't like this website because X, Y, Z, when in fact that had nothing to do with that at all. It was just you looking at it and seeing the color or the headlines, and then right away thinking, this doesn't feel right.
Right.
So that's why I always tell, the clients we work with, and when we share information, it's so important to really know your target audience. Because if you try to reach out to everybody and cast a really big net, then the content you create or the images you share, they're not really going to speak to anybody because they're too general. But when you know your target audience, I always say reach out to them through the midbrain and go for the emotions, because you know them, you know their pains, you know what they're struggling with. So reach out to them at an emotional level.
And that's a really great point. And, and so many times when you're telling this story, even if you have a great story, if you're not talking to the right audience, they're not going to relate. Because I can tell you, if I sit into an audience and I'm not feeling that person, I don't care what they could tell me that their cat got run over, and I'm still going to go, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you have to be talking to an audience that wants to hear what you have to say, that wants to relate to what you're saying, and is looking to connect with you on that level. So you're right. You have to actually know your audience and yourself, to be able to say, okay, this is the audience I need to be part of, and to do, like I said, a little soul searching.
Totally. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't take the time to do.
Yeah.
Really, figure out who their ideal audience is. Because when you start out in business, a lot of times people say, oh, I want to help everyone, or my business is for everyone, and it's not, and you don't want it to be. One, you can't please everybody. You're not going to. Right. So if you really niche in, and even if you just take a couple hours, literally take a couple hours and sit down and go, who is this person? And try to really define who that person is, down to, are they a male or a female? How old are they? Do they have kids? Are they married? Are they not married? All of that stuff will help you to define who you should be talking to, so that when you are sending out that email, or when you are building your website or your blog or a new product or offering, then you're really talking to that one person, and then they either decide, hey, I really like what she's saying, or like what they're saying. I feel better when I'm talking to them. Then you've resonated. So, that would probably be one of my biggest tips, and that's something I learned the hard way. I actually invested in some coaches, and I had heard this before, know who your ideal audience is, and work for them. And it was until I really had to invest, several $100s to figure out, she said, I want you to sit down for a couple hours. It served me so well, because I really started to fine tune who that person was. And now I'm constantly striving to figure out who they are and to talk to that person. And I even actually put out surveys to my audience too. So I would suggest doing that. Talk to people. People are very willing to share. So if you're just starting out, or you've been doing this for a little while and you feel like you're hitting some walls, you might want to reassess who your audience is.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. Well, you guys, if anybody has any questions over here, please, don't be shy. We promise we won't bite you, and we can't.
Well, baby.
That's right.
We're mean. No. So I know. I appreciate you, Jennifer, you sharing about the old brain, the mid brain, and the new brain. That's something that I love hearing about that stuff, because you ladies familiar with Simon Sinek?
Yes. You mentioned him the last time, and I went and looked him up. He was awesome.
He is awesome.
Yeah.
He is awesome. And that's something that I one of the things I believe when you're talking about what your brand story is really, and it goes back to what you were saying, Jennifer, too. And Angela, about knowing who you are and being true to yourself too, because you have to know why you're doing what you're doing. And that's what he teaches. And so, he talks about that your why lives in your limbic brain. Is that part of your midbrain?
Yes, that's part of your midbrain.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel a little smart now.
I think, Darla, you've been doing some neuroscience crunching.
I would say so.
I just remember I retained that because I was just so fascinated by it, because it's hard to explain that, because so many people, when they think of branding, they think of your visuals and your logo and colors. It's all the stuff you see. And let's face it, most of us see, 90% of us, we see things faster than we read text. And so that makes sense. But it's just so much bigger than that. And so it's really like what you feel, and knowing what your why is will really help you too. That's probably another tip that I would say is, it's hard. It's not an easy process, but when you figure out what that is, then again, your target audience, your ideal clients will start to resonate with you, because they'll start to understand what you're about. Would you guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
I don't want to be.
And that why is, like I said, it takes a lot of soul searching to really look at yourself and say, why am I doing this? What will actually relate to the people that I'm trying to connect with? I'm trying to reach this particular audience. What can I connect with? And being authentic. I know it's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but authenticity to yourself, authenticity to the community that you're trying to reach. Because, we're multifaceted. So we have different parts of us. And I don't want to say you have to pick and choose, but you kind of have to pick and choose how much of each side of you want to put out there to your audience. Like, for instance, I'll tell you something I've been working on lately. I'm on Snapchat. And so Snapchat. And one of the parts about Snapchat that I like is that it's just plain old fun. It's a fun way to connect with other people, to let down your guard. And there is no, professional me this, and then, everybody, there is a way to have fun, and I can send a silly note to somebody. I can post something silly of my dog. I can do it, and that's a great atmosphere to just let down your guard and connect. So people say, why are you on Snapchat? Because you can connect with people in the truest form, and I can be myself and be a little bit sillier than if I were on LinkedIn, obviously. So, authenticity to yourself is first, and then you can be true to your audience and give them 100% of you in the nutshell.
Very cool. Yeah, we probably should do a whole other thing about Snapchat, because I'm still trying to figure it out. I've been on it for a little while, but I haven't figured out.
Yeah. I think part of authenticity, it's funny how there have been so many studies which have shown that, people generally have very good instincts when it comes to connecting with people, even though it's not necessarily face-to-face, that you start to get a sense for somebody when you're communicating with them, even though it's online. And there have been so many actually really interesting neuromarketing studies on that, where people really can get a sense for when a brand is trying too hard. It just doesn't resonate with people. It seems too fake, and people would actually prefer somebody not to be trying, aiming for, professional infallibility. They'd rather just deal with a human being, somebody that they feel can truly sort of understand them and be a part of their journey. Right. When people connect with brands, and there have been, if you just Google even for millennials and branding, that's become such a really hot topic right now in branding and in brand storytelling. And it's sort of gone into neuromarketing as well, looking at millennials in neuromarketing studies, because they've grown up in such a tech generation that their instincts are so sharp for when somebody online is just fake.
Absolutely.
So I think it's so incredibly important, what you say, Angela, to just be really your authentic self, because if you keep trying to put this facade forward, eventually it's going to fall flat and your brand damage.
Tweeting goddess said, yes, we all have BS meters. Yes. And you know what? People say, how can you tell a story on Twitter? I'm like a radar detector. There's like 140 characters BS. Stop DMing me. I'm not interested. You can pick it up through social media real easy, let alone face to face. So but you have to be true to yourself and know who you are, because some people believe they're BS. So what do you do with them when they believe their own? So they've got to understand who they are and what they're really bringing to the table too.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I just noticed that we didn't see the question. I'm sorry. Ask for support. Who here has built a company they currently own?
Oh, I just typed in my answer. I did.
And I'm in the process of building mine. I mean, it's ever growing. I wasn't quite sure about the question, but yes.
Yeah, I think that I would say that, we all have.
And if you see me looking over here, it's because my computer's over there.
Right. we all have, and I would say I've built a few companies, different businesses, and they have evolved and ebbed, and I moved on because I've evolved. So and I think that's something you're always doing. I know, whether it's your own company or you've moved on and developed a new company because you've evolved. So yeah, we didn't mean to ignore your question. I apologize. We were just caught up in the moment. So please, make sure you have your questions there. So I would tell you, it's always easier if you post the backslash with the letter Q. Then it pops up on the other side, and it's easy for us to see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So sorry we didn't see that. But yeah, I totally agree. Going back to what you were saying, Jennifer, about being authentic, I think there was a time there that when I was early on in my career, it's like I was so inspired by other people that you try to emulate a little bit, and I found myself doing that. And I didn't feel authentic. I'm like, okay, this is not right. So when I realized that I just need to be myself, and then the right people started coming to me, and so I found that the more I am myself, and just being who I am, then the people that will resonate will come, and that's okay. Yeah, that's what you want, right? So Yeah, totally agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree with you. So it looks like, yeah. So yeah. So any other things you want to talk about here with branding or storytelling? Because I'd love to share, some other things here. I'm trying to look at I actually put together a.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things that is sort of part of building the brand that people often forget, especially now that we're sort of talking about building a company, is that sometimes people try too hard to please every client. And you know what? Sometimes a client just isn't a good fit when you are being your authentic self, right? I mean, so I think part of an integral part of your brand is you. And if you start having to put yourself in directions or be uncomfortable with a road you're going down or something doesn't feel right, then I think it's really important as a business owner to be able to say, you know what, this just isn't a good fit or this isn't going to work. And I think it can be really hard when you're first starting out. I mean, I'm sure we've all had to work with people that weren't a good fit.
And happy to let them go.
I think it's really important because I think in the end, these are relationships which in your heart are just not going to work out, and they're not going to help you build your brand and keep solidifying the direction you're going in. So I think part of that is also being comfortable in sort of figuring out your own limits and your own limitations as well. And that's an acceptable part of a brand strategy as well.
I think it's also about being confident too. And knowing, this is where this is where I draw the line, or this is where I feel comfortable. Because I have to say, the more I've stepped into that, the less I've had clients that I haven't felt great about. I've been very comfortable, especially this year. I would say this year, maybe for the last 6 to 8 months. I mean, I've been very blessed to have awesome clients, but more. I mean, I continue to get more clients like that, and it's awesome, and when you know who your ideal client is, who your target audience, you can see them coming, when they're coming and they start talking to you about what they want or what they need, or what you can say, I don't feel like we're a good fit. It's better to walk away.
That's true. And say and be honest. And once again, it goes back to honesty and telling the truth about what you know. Now, one part about storytelling that I feel like can be a benefit is figuring out the experience. There's a great guy. His name is Brian Solis. He's well known, and I love his books. So I'm a fan of Brian Solis. And he talks about creating the experience. And storytelling starts with the experience. Figuring out, what do I want my audience to walk away with? What do I want them to feel? The 3 parts of your brain. I can't remember the 3 parts, but what kind of experience do I want them to have when they're around me? What do I want them to walk away and remember about me? That's the basis for creating your story, is creating that experience and saying, hey, when I talk to this person, I would love for that. I work with women, so want her to, just feel like I understand what she's saying and that I can help her with her problems and move forward and solve that. So, creating that experience and then creating a story around it. And a story doesn't have to be something long and drawn out. It just has to be relatable. I think that's the best way, because everybody has their own experience. So it has to be relatable, something that and you will change your story depending on the audience, depending on the platform. So once again, I go back to Snapchat. Snapchat is about your personal, it's more personal, even though people use it for business. It's a little bit more, here's what's going on behind the scenes, behind my house, behind my work, behind the late nights. I'm up late night, I've got bags underneath my eye, versus the story on Twitter is more free flowing. It's more in the news. It's more what's happening. Hey, we're on Blab, It's the experience, and you have to create the experience based on the platform and the networking and the environment that you're in. So it's okay to change up your story. It just has to be honest and it has to be real.
Yeah. And I think that really happens quite often with stories, that once brands have that sort of, this is our story, there actually isn't a single brand story, because no brand has a target audience made up of all the same members, right? We all have different target audiences. You've got current clients that require different information from you. You have potential clients. You may have strategic partners. You may have affiliates. And each one of those groups, each one of those subgroups that makes up your total target audience you know, they require different content from you. They require a different story because their relationship with you is completely different.
Exactly.
And so it's not as if, I always tell people when they say, oh, I need an elevator pitch. Well, not even an elevator pitch is a one size fits all, because your elevator pitch to a potential client is not the same as an elevator pitch to a potential investor, right? They each have their own specific needs. And part of being an effective storyteller is knowing what are those emotional needs and specific needs that the person you're speaking with actually has. And that's how you connect with them and engage with their brain. Because the more generic you try to make it, the less effective it's going to be.
That's great quote there, Missy. I'm going to put that in there. It's true. It's really true, because you can't, you know, I love what you're saying. In fact, I've even broken down when I did my, I dug deep here a couple months ago and went back and just started from ground zero, from the foundational stuff, and said, okay, what's my purpose? You know, what's my mission statement? What's my vision for my business as, you know, as I grow here? And I created a personal mission and a professional mission, and a personal purpose and a professional one, because I think it can change, and it is. I think it's who you're talking to. You have to kind of be a chameleon. You know, if you're talking to a prospective, you know, client, then you're going to talk to them in a different tone. You're going to have a different story. You're going to tell a different pitch, whatever. Right. If you were talking to a partner or someone you're going to collaborate with. So, yeah, great. Looks like I got a couple here comments here. I want to put in here too. The tweeting goddess said, "You surround yourself with the right people, changing all the time," and that's true. I totally agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then she says here, people will always remember how you made them feel. And I think that, you know, we all totally agree with that. It's really about how you made them feel. And then she says, I did my first video from Snapchat yesterday. Yay!
Yay!
Oh, that's exciting!
I gotta figure that out. We have to do that. Angela, we're gonna have to do a Snapchat how-to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Angela and Tweeting Goddess, you guys need to give us a Snapchat.
I even let them. I did one. There's a bunny. If you go to my Instagram page, and that I actually learned how to. I was at the nail salon. So my story is, I went to the nail salon, was finally doing something for myself. So that's a long story, and there was these young ladies there sitting next to me, and as they were sitting, I noticed, because I know the app, I said, wait a minute, you're on Snapchat. And I said, how do you do it? Because she had these funny faces. And I was like, well, how do you get on there? And she showed me. And so next thing I know, I'm on there doing Snapchat with the funny faces. So if you go to my Instagram page, there is actually, and I look kind of crazy, but hey, there's a bunny ear picture of me with bunny ears, because that happened to be the Snapchat facial feature that was on. So you will see little things like that, in which I'm showing I do have a slight silly personality, and I can be fun. At the same time, I've been told I'm really serious. So that if you go to Instagram, you'll see that of me. And like you said, at the hairdresser, I think I got a couple on there. I had on Snapchat at the hairdresser as well. So, you know, it's all behind the scenes, Tweeting Goddess.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'd say she said her team won't show her how, so she isn't happy that she's on it. I have to say the same thing happened to me when I told my kids I'm on Snapchat. They're going, "No, really, Mom? Can we not have one platform where you're not on it?" And I'm like, I'm still figuring it out. I haven't figured out how to do the story stuff. I know that there are some people out there who are doing amazing stuff with that. So yeah, we'll have to do another blab about that.
Absolutely. I'm game. I'm game.
Sure. Yeah.
That's fantastic. You know, my nieces and nephews won't show me either, because they're like, seriously, Aunt Jen, I don't want you seeing what we post on Snapchat. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what are you posting?
And I know it's all off the top, but yes, my nephew, because I don't want to say close in age, but they showed me how to do it, and I do keep up with them, so I do get to see the stuff they do. Yeah. And once again, it's just another part of letting me in their lives. There are some great, amazing people on there. I've mentioned him before, Brian Fanzo. He does a really great Snapchat. Off the top of my head, there's a few people that I follow, and you get ideas for how they're showing their story and letting you see behind the scenes a little bit more about them as regular people outside of, say, Twitter or even Anchor, if nobody's on Anchor.
Yeah, and that.
Ted Rubin.
It says Ted Rubin is fab.
I like his Instagram with Ted Psaki. That's he does socks. When he goes through Instagram, he shows you the different socks on his trips that he goes to and conferences.
Wow.
He calls it hashtag Take Saki. Not that we're talking about this, but it's part of his story, and that's what I know him for on Instagram. But he has a different story on Twitter, because I followed him on Twitter too. And I need to follow him on Snapchat. I didn't think to follow him there too, but he has different stories, different locations, and they're all relatable.
Right. And that's what, definitely going to be, we'll definitely be following him and checking him out. I know I follow Brian Fanso, and I love hearing his story. I love watching his stories. He shares, he's very transparent. He shares what's going on in his life, what he's doing. He shares his family. Now, some people don't want to share their kids. You know, my kids are teenagers, so they don't want me to talk about them very much. But I have to say that one of the things, I just checked my Facebook, and I went into my insights on my business page. And again, it goes about being transparent and sharing your story and stuff. I just talked about being a mom, that I was putting my mom hat on for the weekend, and I was celebrating my son's 22nd birthday. He's graduating in May, and he already has a job. And that got hundreds of impressions and all these likes. And that's something I normally would put on my personal page, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to share it here, and because it's who I am. And it got way more than, you know, if I were to share brand tips or this is what I'm doing, that type of thing. I think that, you know, it's all about that. No matter which platform you're on, you know, be authentic and share that inside story about who you are, and I think people will really relate to it. I was shocked by it, but I was happily shocked.
Yeah. I think it's a great way to flesh out a brand, right? I think it's a great way to make you, you know, a three-dimensional person for the people who are following you on social media and who are interacting with you, right? It's such a fabulous way to introduce other components. And as Angela said, you're not always comfortable. I mean, I wouldn't want to show necessarily, you know, my family or, you know, my daughter, things like that. But I think it's a really great way to flesh you out, you know, as a person, and show that you have different sides, and to let people, I think it's such an important thing to humanize the brand.
I think that is
right.
I think that's a very good thing. You definitely
personalize the brand,
so
that it is more than just a color scheme and a logo and a tagline. Yeah.
You were going in very slow motion for about.
Oh, did I cut out? I'm not caffeinated enough. No, I was just saying it's really important to humanize and to personalize a brand, because, you know, a great brand is so much more than just a color scheme and a logo and a tagline, right? There's a human, there are people behind it. And the more that you know about,
I think, you know, we all agree. I've got a question I want to ask you ladies about this. Tweeting Goddess says that she wishes the big brands would do that, humanize themselves. And I do too. I think they're trying. I think that's part of the beauty of what we do, being an entrepreneurs and being small businesses. We can shift and mold and create our brand. And one of the things I tell my clients is that, you know, whether you believe it or understand it, you already have a brand. People already have a perception of it. That's your brand. And it's also your reputation. So you need to be you have to be the one that's guiding that. And so by putting it out there and being authentic and sharing, you know, behind the scenes and finding the right platforms will really help you develop that brand personalities. But I was going to ask you, ladies, you know, are there certain brands that you love, that you think is maybe a bigger brand that you think are doing a good job of humanizing? I've got a few of them. I just wanted to see what you guys think.
Give me a second to think about that one. And I'll get back to you on that one.
I will tell you the first one that comes to my mind. I've got two off the top of my head that are actually more product based. One is Tom's Shoes. You guys heard Tom's Shoes? Love Tom's Shoes. Yes. They are completely consistent throughout all of their branding. They say the same thing. They do the same thing. They talk what they preach. They talk. They give. I think they're a great brand to emulate. Another one is called the Giving Keys, and I think that's another. And these are more
Yes.
I love Giving
yes.
Keys too.
Yeah.
They share behind the scenes stuff. I follow them on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. I love Instagram too because I think that a lot behind
Okay.
too. And I think that's something that they share, like the people that they work for, the people that work for them, the people that now have homes, because Giving Keys, literally I actually have one. You buy a key, and on the key you can have engraved with a word. And the process is that these are recycled keys, and most of them are on chains, and you have different sizes. And the people that work there are homeless people that are trying to get back on their feet. And so they talk about the people that have a home or been out on their own for a couple years now. It's a great story. And the process of the Giving Key is that if you find someone who needs whatever your word defines, that you give the key away. And I think that's a
beautiful story.
Very beautiful story.
That's a beautiful story.
Yeah. So anyway, so has it inspired you guys to think of any other ones?
I really like Dove. I think they do a very good job, even though I think they're sort of the Dove soaps. I think they do a really good job of helping with female body image and people learning to grow to love their own individual and unique beauty. I think it's such a great approach that they've done, and I think it's been really consistently done, like the way that they've introduced videos and Instagram and all of the things that they've done in support, I think has been really great and really important to have that sort of social message built into part of their brand was very clever.
I'm seeing that more and more, and I actually saw that on, I think it was on a video. And they were talking about, I love the whole story about, about the girls, like a girl, that whole campaign that they did. I think that was genius because it talks about being a female, loving your body, but it doesn't talk about buying soap. It doesn't talk about that. About being authentic who you are, and then it's just very subtle. And I think that's something that I think the big brands are going to have to start to really, some of them are doing a really good job. And I think that's something that we need to learn from, so that we can do that more. Because if you're talking more about stories and you have a strategy behind it, like what story, how it resonates, and it's going to resonate with people, then it's not pushy. Then you're not selling. And I think that resonates with the people. When I share that, it's like when you're sharing a story, it's not about selling. It doesn't feel so a lot of people have a hard time selling, right?
Yeah. Can I go off I'm gonna go off of the left end or the right end, whichever the side of the spectrum you decide. You know what? As I'm sitting here and I'm thinking all these different brands in my mind, and I'm going through a bunch of different ones, something popped up. Beyonce, as much as she's annoying, Beyonce, and please don't let her see this, but as much as I recognize her as a talent, she's a great talent, she's a great entertainer, but her brand is about being a strong Black woman. Right. And at the end of the day, I can say what I want to say about her on so many different levels, but she's consistent across anywhere you go. From her style, she doesn't care that nobody doesn't like what she have on. She's about saying, hey, here I am talent, you're going to recognize me. And it's okay for women to be strong. It's okay to show your personality. It's okay to be who you are. And if I don't take nothing else from her, and to be a hard worker and to show that you can achieve, her brand is consistent across anywhere you go. She's always going to tell you, that you need to work, you can get what you need, and it's okay to be who you are. She kind of opens up doors for a lot of people. If you ever go to a concert, you see all sorts of people in her concerts. And it's because she's telling you it's okay to be who you are and to stand strong regardless. Yeah. And I think she does a great job of showing that to people, even though once again she's all over the place and it's ridiculous for her tickets. But for that, I can respect her as a woman, as a Black woman. Being a Black woman myself, I can relate to that on certain levels, being able to say, hey, this is who I am. You're going to have to accept me eventually or not. But I've got to be okay with that. And I think that's the essence of her brand, is just putting herself out there like that.
Yeah, I think she's a great example. I like her. I think isn't her like, I thought it was her name, Sasha Fierce.
Right, that's her alter ego.
That's like her alter ego.
That's her alter ego. And so that's because she says she gets scared going on stage. She's saying she's not afraid, you know, she's not without fear. So she puts on this alter ego that allows her to go out there and be, you know, be the they tell you to do the superwoman pose to be superwoman on stage. So Sasha Fierce is her alter ego to allow her to go out there and do what she do all the time. But she's really quiet behind scenes, but at the same time, that's another part of her personality. So I think that's her story, and I'm sticking to it. And as a brand, Beyonce, I was there say everybody knows who she is worldwide. So she's created a great name for herself.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think she's great. And when you think about other like, popular musicians and artists and things like that, I mean, whether you like her or hate her, Taylor Swift has got a great brand too.
She's got it. Yeah, she's got it.
She's got a great brand. And, you know, I know my daughter is a Taylor Swift fan and I like her stuff, but, you know, and either there are people that really like her and really don't. And her fans love her.
And that's part of her story.
It is part of her story.
It's either you're going to, when she tells it, you know, she puts herself in this particular way, and that's what she sticks to, and you either like it or you don't. And that's part of being a brand. That's part of telling your story, is to tell your story and stay true to your story. But it only works if you're being authentic.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, and it's interesting that both of you gave the example of, you know, Beyonce and Taylor Swift, because I've seen a few brand strategists recommend, and I've always thought this is a really clever idea, is to sort of think of your brand as a person walking into a room. So you already know what your brand looks like. You've got your color scheme, you've got your logo, you've got your tagline, but then this person walks in the room. Now describe them. What kind of person are they? Are they clever? Are they intelligent? Are they funny? Are they, you know, sort of mischievous? Are they very analytical? And so when you start to think of your brand as a human, as a person walking into the room, flesh them out now. You know what they look like, but who are they? So give them a personality, give them some characteristics, and then that will help guide the story that you're going to build to share. This brand is this person. Now here's the story of this person. And so much like you talk about Beyonce and Taylor Swift, if each of us could step back and think about our brand as a person walking into a room, so who are they? And it's a good way to help sort of guide, you know, when opportunities come up or strategic partnerships come up, or you're sitting down to write a blog post. If you've defined your brand as this person, would they do this? Would they share this? And so when you give them, as you say, Angela, where you're on Snapchat and you're like, this shows my quirky side. Well, there you go. Part of that brand personality is this quirky side.
That is it. that sums it up.
It's true. I think that's a great strategy. That's a great tip. I shared it in there. One of the other things that I was going to tell you, as far as, and I think I mentioned this in the last time that we spoke, and I don't know if you ladies had an opportunity to go and check him out, but someone I think has really been has done a great job of walking, of embracing who he is and walking into the room and saying, this is who I am possible, is Jeremy Cowart. I mentioned to him in the last one. He is a photographer who has, he's done a couple of TED Talks, and I think he's up for the big TED Talk. And so if you go to his website, and I'll put it into the comment section, he's actually taken photographs of Taylor Swift, and he's from Tennessee, lives in Nashville, but he's photographed hundreds of thousands of people, a lot of famous people, but he didn't want to be known for that. And if you listen to his video, he's actually put it out on Facebook too, where he shared. It's got hundreds of thousands of likes and hundreds of thousands of shares It's just a great story, and it's his story. He shares very authentically and very transparently that when he was a child, he had a hard time. That art was the only thing that he could relate to. He didn't do well in school, and in that he finally got to go to college. And you can relate to this. You can relate to his story, and the fact that he didn't stop, and he thought, okay, what I'm doing is possible. I can do things. And he's Christian. He talks about that. He's very open about it. I think he's just a great example of someone who is embraced who he is. He's extremely authentic. He's a down-to-earth guy. I'm just a regular guy. I had the opportunity to meet him here in Cincinnati, and he is just what you see on the pictures, on the camera, behind the camera, on the video is just him. He's a dad. Yeah, he's a dad. He loves his wife. He adopted 2 kids.
That's great.
He has 2 biological children and 2 other children, and he shares them openly and talks about his story. And his why was he didn't want to be just known as a celebrity photographer. He wanted to be known for making a difference, that he can make in other people's lives, and he's doing it. And so, and every time his goals, his dreams get bigger and bigger, and more people rally behind him. I'm one of them. I mean, I think he's amazing mentor to follow for sure. So I'll put his thing in there too. So I didn't want to not put him in there, so that you guys, as someone else, is another brand to think about. So,
gotcha.
Yeah,
I'll definitely look into him.
Yeah, definitely.
Jeremy Cowart.
Yeah.
Jeremy Cowart. Yes. Looks like his site is I don't know. He had it on his he had the video on his site. But if you go follow him on Facebook, his video should be on there too. His video, it's like 28 minutes, but it doesn't seem that long. And it's one that people showed their family, they showed their kids. I've shared it with my kids. I've seen him twice actually, and he's just pretty amazing guy. So, yeah. So anyway, but
awesome.
Yeah. So so when it comes to sharing your stuff, share your brand story. Where would you guys suggest? I mean, I know we talked about Snapchat and we talked about social media. I think being consistent is a big deal. Sharing it everywhere.
Right.
Finding the platforms that work for you. I definitely I want to check out Snapchat. I use Instagram like you're using Snapchat, Angela.
Right.
So
I'm still on YouTube, so it's just different. It's
right.
My nephew describes Snapchat in forms of storytelling as a way of making Instagram more interactive.
Oh, I love that.
So it's making it interactive and bringing that. So if I had to drop a tip, I would say create an experience when you're doing your storytelling. So that would be my tip going out, is to create an experience for your audience.
Okay, create an experience. I'm writing this down.
Can I give a shout out real quick to, I know it's so old, give a shout out to some of the ladies on here. I have Diane, Kristen, who else is on here? Kristen was on here, and these are the ladies from my women's group that I have on Facebook, Women United in Business. And they came out to support. And hear a little bit about storytelling.
Hey, ladies.
These are my ladies. These are my group, and I appreciate their support for coming on here and being in the audience. So, hey, Diane. Hey, Kristen. I think she left, but she was on here at the beginning. So, and so this is an invite too, putting it out there. Invite for anybody interested in joining the women's group. We're a diverse bunch, and we just help each other and support, and that's what it's about.
That's so cool. So is this a virtual group, or is it a group in Atlanta?
No, it's a virtual group. We're on Facebook. Okay. I would love, as it grows, to take it to actually create meetups and create a whole brand around that within itself. Because I believe that we all have a lot to learn from each other. And no matter how much skills you have, we all have something to learn. We can all tell each other our stories and can relate to something in some form. And that's what I'm sending creating this group around. Just everybody's got something to learn from somebody. Somebody can share something. And that's the premise for this group. So along with business marketing tips, the motivational stuff, getting us out there, doing more videos, stuff that we women struggle with. I want this group to be okay to struggle and share into it. So
that's great.
So that's that. So Women United in Business Mastermind on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, why don't you get the link and put it in here so that
yes, ma'am.
I'm sure that I hope that people will share this and will put this in the replays. I mean, I know that a lot of people get into replays. Hi, Truthful Mind. Glad to have you.
That's Diane.
Oh, is that your friend?
Yeah, that's yes.
Oh, nice to see you. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out because I think I'm always looking for great groups to be a part of. I have a group myself on Facebook. It's called Branding Bosses, but we talk more about branding stuff. But you're always looking for a tribe of people that you feel like you can connect with. So, what about you, Jennifer? Is there certain places where you feel like you really can connect when it comes to online sharing, branding and such?
Yeah, I would say that there are a few groups. I know I'm a part of Janine Blackwell. I don't know if you know her. She does online courses, and so I just finished doing an online course, building an online course, and it's with beta testers now. So woo! On neuromarketing, and part of her community is a private Facebook group, which I thought was really great, and they're really supportive. But I like this idea more of these open forums, like what you're talking about, Angela. I think it's really important that people be able to, stumble and have somebody to ask questions, or just a place to say, this is what happened. What are people thinking? It's really funny how some groups can be really hit or miss, because I joined one group that shall remain nameless, and sometimes people can be really judgy, and I'm the kind of person where I think life's too short. Everybody should just put their best foot forward. I'm always there to be of service to others, and if I can help, then I will.
You don't have to join a group to be judged, and so
yeah. I feel the same way. That's why a lot of groups they either become too pitchy, too markety, and I typically just bow out. I found some good things, but it's good to have a place that you feel safe, that you can ask questions and such. And I have to say, I find Blab to be a place. I love having the engagement. I love to be able to see people and to have that way of communicating and getting information or sharing thoughts and questions and things like that too. But I'd love to, you guys have we'll definitely be doing, I hope we'll do some more of these and because it's a lot of fun, and we love to have everybody here. So, so I know we're getting ready to. It's almost at the top of the hour, and I know that. And it's crazy.
I know everything worked too. Look at this.
It did.
Oh my gosh, that went by quickly.
Yeah, I think it was. I think that Blab was in the middle of doing all these changes, and that's when we were doing right before is when we were doing our last Blab. Of course, yes. So I think it'll be good. I'd love to do it some more with you ladies, because I think you guys are awesome. I'm so happy that we got to meet and connect on Twitter, because that's the thing is all these different platforms and trying to find the right one, and and using them for different things. I think it's smart to do that and to make sure that you're sharing, you're being consistent with your brand story. That's probably the biggest thing, across all the platforms. There's a quote that, me in quotes, there's a quote that I love from Seth Godin. I'm sure you ladies know who he is. That I want to leave with everybody is marketing is no longer about the stuff that you make. It's about the stories that you tell. And I think that really is a great way to kind of, wrap up things and stuff. But I wanted to share that. I think that's a great quote to, for people to think about when they're talking about the brand. And hopefully they've gotten some good, valuable information I think you ladies gave a lot of great information here to share.
Okay. And don't forget to put emotion, lots of emotion. Don't shy away from it. So you can connect with
there be as far as sharing your emotions, is there any like tips on that, Jennifer, that you would say, you just try to open up more?
I would say definitely the best way to pull out those emotional keywords that would be really good is to speak to people, and this sounds a little bit strange, but it's very effective. Don't just speak to the clients that you already have, but actually just reach out to people that you think would make good prospective clients and just ask them. So sort of, what are you searching for, and what are you looking for, and sort of, how are you feeling? Because you want to be able to get a full sense of, you know, that target audience, that emotion behind it. So you really want to get a sense for people you're working with now, what brought them to you, what pulled them into you, what is it that they felt connected with, and then potential people, you know, just in chatting with people at networking events, you know, asking them or meeting up with people, and then just saying, you know, if somebody says, you know, I need help with X, and it's like, well, what's driving you? Like, when you're searching, what are you feeling? Or, you know, are you frustrated? Are you, because some people, everybody always assumes that everybody's in pain looking for something. Sometimes people aren't in pain looking for something, right? Sometimes people are just like, I want to grow my business. I'm excited, and I'm, you know, I'm feeling like I want to take that leap forward, and I just want someone to help guide me, which is a different set of emotions. So just don't make assumptions when you're trying to communicate the emotions. You know, actually take the time to find out.
Great place
I would
for us
say.
to end on, because it's taking that time and researching, right? So it's like and asking people, because a lot of times you don't know unless you ask, and you can.
No, that's true.
You should never assume. That's one of the, there's a, if y'all heard of Don Miguel Ruiz, he wrote a book called the Four Agreements.
No.
Yeah, it's an old book. I've read it a few times. It's a very little book. It's somewhere here in my office.
No.
But one of the agreements is to never assume. Don't take anything personally. Never assume. Always do your best. And I always forget the fourth one. But that's something I try to live by. It's like, never assume, because you have to ask people.
Yeah.
So I've gotten in the habit of doing that more and more and more. And the more you do it, the less uncomfortable it is.
Right. That's true.
Keep asking people, because you want to be able to give them the best service and to serve them, to help them. So I think that's a great tip, Miss Jennifer. Go, ladies.
Yes, ma'am.
This has been awesome. Well,
thank you for having me. Thank you for asking me to be part.
That's great. It was so fun.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I'm so glad
thanks for the invitation, Darla.
I want you guys to put your URL, your link here in the page, and over in our chat section. I can get mine to go in there. There's mine. So I'm over at darlakirchner.com, and I help a lot of people do entrepreneurs and small businesses so that they can brand themselves from the inside out. I work with brand design, brand identity, and brand strategy, and then so we're glad you guys all could be here with us. And yes, thanks, ladies. And Angela and Jennifer, they put their information in. And so we're glad you guys are here. And if you have any questions, be sure to find us over on Twitter or on Facebook. Yeah. Or
Instagram, Google Plus, Snapchat, Anchor, if you feel like audio, blast.
LinkedIn.
I'm a little, that's the social media trainer part of me, being out there. So I'm out there to help and getting that brand out there.
Yeah, so we appreciate you all being here with us. Thanks for joining us today.
That's great. Have a nice evening, everybody.